Hey everyone, happy, what is it today? Tuesday, right? Yeah, Tuesday. Welcome to Dungeons and Deliberations. I am the Master of Dungeons. Uh, we are going to be, first of all, I want to thank everybody. We've got a few viewers coming in. Thank you for tuning in today. I did want to thank all of the community, for those of you watching live tonight, and for those of you watching the video on demand or watching it on YouTube next week when we download them on Monday. But I got a really cool email yesterday. We've only been streaming for a week, and we hit affiliate already, which is great. So eventually, we will have some cool channel points for you to spend. We're most likely going to have those ready. We're going to have some for the different streams, and of course have some for our live play game nights. Thanks everyone that tuned in on Sunday night, I should say, for that. That was a lot of fun. We had a really cool heist startup for the keys from the Golden Vault. Players had a lot of fun. Viewers seemed to have a lot of fun as well. So thank you for tuning in for that. I think we had up to 13 streamers that evening, or 13 viewers, I should say, that evening, which was really great. And if we can just continue to build on that, it's going to be awesome. As long as also, if you guys have any suggestions, don't forget you can always talk about those in stream discussion on our Discord server. Again, if you haven't joined our Discord server, you can drop down in our About section below us right now and click on the Discord panel, and that will give you an invitation to join our community server. What I was planning on doing a little bit tonight was talking about Roll20, especially for dungeon masters that are not experienced with Roll20 or don't have that many hours with Roll20. Just helping you get started creating a new game, and then the things that you can do. You can do it. Most of the stuff I'm going to show you tonight is all stuff that you can do with just a free account. Let's go ahead and move over there. I did get my Stream Deck in yesterday. I have not got it programmed in yet, so things will be a little bit easier once I can sit over here and just push little buttons to change between scenes, but have to do it manually in Streamlabs tonight. And we will add, again, like I said, some extra things in the chat, different messages, eventually be able to get our merch store going and all that, since now we have the affiliate. So thanks again. And here we go. Let's talk about some Roll20. All right, so this, for example, this is my Roll20 login for my games. You have all of your information for your account, your profile, your wish lists, marketplace items, message box, help center, and all of that to sign in and out. You'll get your messages up here if you have any notifications. Of course, you'll have your alerts, like this DM's Guild's now in Roll20, which is really great. But on my games, let's see here. Oops, looks like some of my friends started playing one of their games tonight. I have like my keys from the Golden Vault that we stream on Sunday evenings. A couple of my client games that I run, regular campaigns for some groups of players there. So this will give you a list of all of your the games that you're playing. Of course, you have a marketplace where you can buy books and different adventures and different game systems that will add into your library. That when you go into your different rooms, you can have access to some of all of that in your compendium. Now, you do have to have a Plus or a Pro account in order to have access to everything. But you can also make your own. When I first started using Roll20, I actually made my own rooms, and I made my own monsters and my own monster manual. I think I got through Volo's Guide to Monsters and was working on Mordecai's Tome of Foes before I finally decided to go ahead and get the Pro account once I became a professional DM, and went ahead and just started buying everything through the marketplace to be able to not have to spend as much time on preparation in your Roll20 rooms. But as I mentioned, we're just going to start tonight with showing you how to create a game. So what we'll do is, again, go to roll20.net, go ahead and create your free account, and go to your games. It'll be blank to start with, and all you'll have to do is just click on Create New Game. And it takes a few moments. Now, generally, if you have things that you've purchased or have in your library already. You can just select a different module or a different adventure that you want to play. They do have lots of free stuff that is available. I shouldn't say a lot, but they have a few free things that are available. Also, if you get a pro account, I believe that's I usually pay it by the year, so it's I think $99 a year. But you do get something free every month as a pro subscriber. I think it's the first week of the month they release everything they release a free product that you can get. But since we're doing this for free, we're not going to choose a module. You just want to we'll just go ahead and name this test run. Yeah, there we go. You do want to go through and pick a character sheet. The best one for D&D 5th edition is D&D 5e by Roll20. That's the one that looks, as you can see below here, that looks very similar to the 5th edition actual D&D character sheet that you use for Dungeons & Dragons. They have in the back of the player's handbook, the ones that you can get the PDF from and print out. They do have a bunch of different character sheets as well. They have, of course, for your different games, Vampire the Masquerade, Star Trek, Starfinder, Pathfinder by Roll20, pardon me, Pathfinder 2nd Edition, a bunch of different stuff in there. But I always recommend, obviously, D&D by 5e, D&D 5e by Roll20. Once you do get a pro account, I think it's just a pro account, you will be able to even go through and design your own character sheets. But it's easier just to go ahead and select the 5e by Roll20, and we're going to run test run. We're just going to create game. And it has our game ready to go. If you want to put a file on there, you can put a file for, like, say you're playing Storm King's Thunder, and you want to find some really cool art online for Storm King's Thunder. You can drop it in here or choose a file from your desktop, from your computer, and put that as your from the starting screen. So when the players come to this room, they'll see whatever artwork you have set up here. In order to invite players, you can invite them by email if you want, with your email address, or you can just share their link. So the link for this game is right here. So if you're on a Discord channel, or you just want to email your friends instead of, you can send the invite to their email address, or you can text them this so they can join on their computers using this link to join this room in particular. There's token marker sets. So when characters or monsters have certain conditions, there are token markers that you can add to your tokens to remind someone that they're poisoned or remind someone that they're paralyzed as they go through. You can also make custom markers later on, but we'll talk about that later on. First thing you want to do is go to your settings. The basic game settings are fine to start with. If you want to allow characters to import their characters players to import their characters to your game, you can allow that or not. You can even make this game the public can access the game to put it up onto Roll20. So if you're looking for players for a public game, you can do that and list that there. There's default settings here for the game. This is what the players can see for the characters, the page size, the tokens, the player permissions for what they can see on the tokens. Generally, I let the players see the monster's hit point bar, but they don't get to see the total. That way they have an idea of how damaged the monster is, kind of like if they're bloodied or anything like that from old 4th edition. But that way they can actually have an idea of which monsters are looking the worst. Also, I'm not going to change any of the default settings there. Just leave it for that right now. Reload the page. You can also come down. You can share if you get a Plus or Pro account and you buy things in the marketplace. You can add certain things to your room that you might have purchased from the marketplace in Roll20. Like these are all Dungeons and Dragons stuff. Most of it, everything is from Wizards of the Coast. There's a few things like Kobold Press, one of the free things of the month for being a pro subscriber. You got Kobold Press, which is really good, from Tome of Beasts 2 from Kobold Press, which is really nice. But we're not going to share anything for right now. We're going to click no there, save compendium settings. Then you can go through on your character sheet and do a few different ones. These are the default settings. You can change things up. Like if you want to have a level up button, it starts off with milestones since 5th edition's really going to milestones. If you want to go to XP, you can do it that way and do it by level, experience points like that. I always have players roll advantage, always. Because I want the players, that way it makes it easier, saves time. I always use the left roll because when you roll advantage, it rolls 2 rolls. I always take the left roll unless advantage or disadvantage applies. But that's always up to the DM, that's your preference. I don't have them roll automatic damage. I let the players roll their damage, which is part of the fun of rolling virtual dice, I guess. And then there's some other stuff that you can go through the game settings to change if you want. So when we're done, we can just click back up here and go back to our start for our game. I'd always say, "Are you sure you saved?" Make sure you save, and then go back. But we'll just go ahead and launch the game and show you what's inside. All right, so first thing that's going to pop up, you're going to see a few things, especially as the game creator. There is a voice and video for Roll20 that does work through the app. I don't use that myself. I actually use Discord for all of my games. I have the players, if they want to use cameras, use the cameras in Discord. To help me with clutter on the screen, because I like to have as few distractions on the screen as possible. You can join voice and video down here, but what I'll generally do at the start is I'll come over here to settings, and then I'll go down to my audio and video, and then first thing I'll do is I'll turn off the chat tech. Instead of the integrated voice and video from Roll20, I'll come over and just put none. And then what it'll do is automatically reconnect me to the room with all of that turned off. So before I go into changing these logos or anything down here, we'll just go through all of the different controls over here on the left side, and then we'll go over here on the different categories on the right side. First, this is of course your select. You can select and move, or you can do the pan view. Pan view allows you to move around your map. Select and move allows you to select tokens and things of that nature. If you want to pan view, you don't have to switch to pan view. You can stay on select move and just right click on your screen, and it will allow you, or right click on your with your mouse on your screen, and it will allow you to drag yourself around on the map area. Next, you have different layers. This is where you put in your maps. You put in your the tokens, the characters tokens. You put in notes for yourself as the GM, and you can set up, if you have it enabled, you can set up in dynamic lighting. So very simply, you just move over the box with your layers. The map layer is the one that's behind everything else. It's on the top there, but it's behind everything else. It's like the bottom layer. So you click on map layer and you'll be able to put a map in here. We'll probably get around to that if we have time tonight. If not, we'll maybe touch on that next week during our next stream for Dungeons and Deliberations. Of course, your objects and tokens, again, that's where I said you'll have your monster tokens, your player character tokens, things of that along those lines. Then on GM info layer, if you have monsters in a room but you don't want the players to see them until they actually get in there, or something's hidden, or you just want to put notes on there for yourself that the players can't see, you'll put that on the GM info overlay. And then of course your other layer is your dynamic lighting, which allows you to set up walls and windows and doors, things along those lines. Thanks Papa Squats. Thanks for the sub with Prime. Very much appreciated. And the cheer. Thanks a lot. Very cool. Yes, I wasn't sure if you were here earlier, but we got our email yesterday after a week of streaming that we got affiliates. So thanks everyone for watching. Sorry, my throat's a little dry tonight. Yeah, woohoo, definitely. As I mentioned, we'll start adding some channel points and such like that. If you're on the Discord, maybe in stream discussion, you can start discussing what we're actually going to call the points you get down there by the chat. And we're going to add some emotes and such like that for those of you that are already following things of that nature. But yeah, I was thinking of something like dungeon tiles or mithril coins or something. So in the Discord channel, in the stream discussions on our community server, go ahead and throw up some suggestions for what we should call our points. Uh, as I mentioned earlier, we are going to have different things that allow the players to interact with our live stream games. To like help the players out, like give them disadvantage or give them advantage. Or I'm sorry, give them advantage on something, give a monster disadvantage. None of them are going to be to mess the players over. There might be a few things to mess the DM over, but that's okay. As long as we are going to keep them all Adventures League legal, since we're playing AL. So yeah, your dynamic lighting, you can set up walls. You can set up doors. There's also another door command that just came out in the past few weeks, and Roll20 has improved. Like I started using Roll20, I think in 2014, but I started using it regularly when the pandemic hit. And actually, I should say maybe 2016, 2017. I think I've got close to 7,000 hours in there right now. But keep in mind, most of those hours have been over the past 3 years since I became a professional DM during the pandemic. So after the, let's go back to objects and tokens. Just I use that as the default layer to be on. And of course, you can draw shapes, circles, freehand. You can use polygon lines. You can put in text, and then you can erase all the drawings that you want. If you're a pro user, you have actually these effects that you can use for like beams, bombs, things like that. So you want a beam of acid, you click on that, and then you just click and name the effect, and bam, you've got some effects out there. So if you want to add those fun things here and there for your players while they're playing, like fireball, oh boom, goes off. You can also zoom in over here. Let's go back to select move. To zoom in right there. You'll also notice that you can also zoom in over here as well. So you can either use this option to be a little bit more precise. You can scroll in and out over here. The other thing you can do is if you have a mouse wheel, your mouse wheel will normally scroll up and down. But I believe if you hold control, yes, control does allow you to, put that back to normal. Make sure you're on the map when you do that. You can scroll in and out on the map as well. There's also some shortcuts you can check out. Then, of course, you do have your rulers. Your ruler is to measure distance. The squares are a standard 5 feet when you first start off. You can change those, and we'll get to that later in your settings and such. This is, of course, the new feature that they added, which is place light, place windows, or place doors. Those are best to put on the object layer. I haven't had a chance really to experiment much with them myself. If you did watch our stream on Sunday evening, you would have noticed that there were some doors on there that the players can actually interact with. And so you can place those doors and windows and the light to help out with dynamic lighting. This is basically, if you're using dynamic lighting, you'll have some actions here. Otherwise, it's set for what's called a fog of war. So with a fog of war, you just put reset fog of war. Hey, if we want to reset fog of war, that means we've got to turn it on in the page settings, which I'll show you here in a little bit. But that allows you to hide the whole map and then just reveal certain areas for the players as they move through the map. I do recommend that to start with as dynamic lighting. Dynamic lighting is not that difficult to deal with, but if you're new, it can be a little bit intimidating, and we can go from there. Will I consider using Tailspire in the future? I'm not sure what Tailspire? Could you explain? And welcome in. Thanks for the follow, Andre. Oh, game version for D&D. It's a certain game world or like a game based off of Dungeons and Dragons. Oh, 3D. Oh, it's a different VTT. Is that what you're meaning? I don't know. Give me a moment here. I'm going to check that out. Oh, I got you. Okay, so it's a yeah. It basically is a different. Yeah, it's basically a different VTT. I will check that out. I'll look into it. The one thing I have been thinking about is the fact that uh, Wizards of the Coast is coming out with their own VTT. So it's going to be interesting to kind of check that out. One of the reasons why I use Roll20 is that it is the most used VTT, at least here in the States. I'm not sure about overseas or anything of that nature. But I do run, like this weekend coming up, with a company, a group that I work with called Ballman Games. We work with Wizards of the Coast and we run virtual D&D weekends. We run those once a weekend every month. This weekend happens to be a virtual D&D weekend. And the reason why I use Roll20 is, for one, I've got a lot of hours in it. And for another, that is kind of, I want to say, the industry standard. The majority of players that want to play online are using Roll20. But at the same time, I'll definitely, I always love checking out different VTTs. Was it Owlbear Rodeo? I believe there was one a French company came out with. I'd had a chance to get the beta, but I haven't checked it out in a while. But I'll definitely check out Tailspire because it looks very interesting. The one from the French company did, I can't remember what it's called, but they actually allowed you to use, it was 3D as well, but you could use the characters, the miniatures that you designed on Hero Forge. You could use them in their VTT. Yeah, Fantasy Grounds, and a lot of people switching over to Foundry. I have a friend of mine that plays, a couple of friends that use Foundry a lot. It's got some really, really great integration in there. Tailspire is also compatible with Hero Forge. Awesome, awesome. But yeah, I'll check that out after the stream's over and see what it looks like. But yeah, so back to the Roll20 tutorial a little bit. We do have, of course, your initiative tracker, which has its own settings that you can fill out for the initiative tracker, allow the players to see where they are in the initiative. You also have a dice roller, so you can roll simple dice rolls up here. Like you roll 2 die 4, 5 die 4, all the way up to D100. Just click on this one if you just want to roll one. They'll pop up over here in the your chat log over here. You can also open up the advanced dice roller down at the bottom, which gives you control of how many different dice you want to roll, what you want to roll for like adjustments or anything like that. You want to roll 2d20 plus 2. It'll roll those out for you. It tells you exactly what the rolls are. And then, of course, it tells you what your last 10 rolls were, so if you have to re-roll them again. That's also really good for people to use when you first start running and playing, and people that first start playing, it's much easier to use. The character sheets will allow you to roll directly from the character sheets. So that's something when we get around to that. And then, of course, you do have your help, your shortcuts, and if there's any bugs. Right below all these commands on the side here is your night mode, or dark mode. It's still in the process. It's a fairly brand new feature. It's only been out maybe, I think maybe the past year, but it does put your outside of your maps, all the rest, into a dark mode. Generally, I will run with the dark mode disabled. But they are improving it all the time. Since the pandemic, obviously with everyone going to playing online and getting a new CEO for Roll20, or their company, head of their company or whatever, they have been doing a lot of improvements. Also, if you're a game master, they will all or play a lot of hours, and I think it's just Pro and Plus users. They'll always ask you, hey, we have a couple of experimental features. Will you take a few minutes and take a survey, try them out and take a survey? So it's very closed, but they've been adding a lot of great stuff there. So let's go ahead and head over here to our other commands up here at the top. You will notice the first one, of course, is your chat. That is all right here that pops up. As the Master of Dungeons, I can talk down here. If you click on As, which is right underneath my camera there on the Roll20 there on the stream, you can change. It'll bring up a list of the different characters. Like if you're just a player, it'll start with your default name that you have in your display, or you can actually switch it to your character sheet specifically. As a DM, you can use text to talk as a monster or things of that nature. The next is your art library. The art library used to only be for dungeon master or game masters or room creators, but they've actually added the art library for players now as well to access any art that you have on your Roll20 setup. So I can look through marketplace purchases, like a lot of these maps and things are some of the things that you get for being a pro user. But I can go through and get stuff from the keys from the Golden Vault. So it'll give me a list of the some of the art assets from the keys from the Golden Vault. You can also, if you don't have any premium assets, you can also look through your own library. So things that I added in, like for example, we debuted a new Dreams of the Red Wizards epic and added some new stuff in there. Some of the characters, initial ideas for the characters art for our Sunday night stream. And then, like, I create my own spell templates. So I created that spell template for the Arcane Eye. So if someone casts Arcane Eye, obviously it's invisible, but it gives them something for them to move around. You can put up a radius, that a aura on it for a radius that the Arcane Eye can see. And like that. Now, if you don't have anything in your premium assets or your art library, you can also search for something. So we'll go Goblin. Now we'll search for Goblin. Now from my library, I have a few from when I created my own monster manuals. I have a few different goblins in here already. However, you can also look in premium assets that you can buy off of Roll20. Marketplace stuff that I've already purchased, or below that you can have stuff. There are some free assets on there as well to get yourself started, but you can also look from the web. Different places like Dungenie.com, some different other places that share some of their assets online. So you can pull those out directly onto the screen and on your objects and tokens, and like put a goblin corpse out there. You can always resize them, stuff like that. So that's your art library. Next is the journal. When you first start off, there's not going to really be anything in there, but what you can do is you can create different things. So what we're first going to do is we're going to create, add to our journal. Well, we'll come back to that in a second. Let's finish explaining all these. And then, of course, is your compendium. In the 5th edition game, it does have the standard rules document that you can access, basically the basic rules for D&D for players and DMs alike. If you buy more content from the marketplace, it'll get that information in there for you as well. Next is your music. You can add music to your Roll20 room. You can add your own music. You can download it to your Roll20 account, which does take up some of your space. Or you can use audio that Roll20 already has in there. And they've got a few things in there, different sync tracks, playlists, things like that. And then finally you have your collections. Basically what collections are is your macros. If you purchase something pre-purchased from Roll20, you will already have, many of them, the modules and adventures will already have information in there, different rollable tables, things like that. By default, it has playing cards, which are just basically a deck of regular playing cards. I actually have, oops, that's the safety deck. So you have your regular playing cards, which you can shuffle, deal out. I mean, you could just play poker with friends if you wanted to on Roll20. But I also have my safety deck, which is just safety tools that I use for players that are by default that I put in all of my games. But you can make macros for your players, for the character sheets, for your monsters, all of that. And then finally you have your settings, of course. And this is where you can change like your display name down here. This is where we went to turn off the chat tech. Then you can also, like, what I'll have players do is I'll have them change their display name from what they use for their normal account. I'll have them change it to their character's name. I prefer to have their character's name plus their armor class and their passive perception and then their spell save DCs. That way I can glance down at the bottom of the screen and see what that information is without having to ask them or click on their token or anything of that nature. You can change all of that. You can change where the tokens pop up on the monsters. So if you have to put poison on a orc or something like that, or paralyze on a goblin, it tells you on what part of the token to put that token marker. Then, of course, you can change the size of the card decks, things of that nature. But you have your graphics. If you want to allow players, enable animated graphics, you can turn those off as well. In your audio video, again, as I mentioned, you can turn off the chat tech. Video display, that deals with this down here. Normally, if you're using the interactive camera, integrated camera in Roll20, this is where everyone's camera will pop up. If they don't have a camera on, it will just show this avatar, which is basically what their avatar is for their Roll20 account. What I like to do is just go ahead and actually, and you can change those from where you want. You can put them up on the top up here, and then have the screen open down here, or you can move them down to the bottom, which I always leave there. But I also turn you can change the size. I always turn it to names only, since we don't use the integrated cameras for Roll20. I just turn that off to have a little bit more space. And then after that, you have your text chat options, different timestamps if you want for the chat, chat avatars, things of that nature. You can clear the chat log here. You can also do it from your game settings at the starting area of the game before you launch it. You can also change your dice options. The only thing I would recommend is if you have 3D dice turned on, depending on what type of system you have, it can slow down your Roll20 a little bit. You can enable 3D dice, and then when you roll a die 4, it rolls a die 4 for you. You do got to drag them out, but it does doesn't allow you to roll 3D dice on the board. So if people want to see what the dice look like, you can do that. You can also change your own keyboard shortcuts and things of that nature. They have advanced ones. I generally don't use a whole lot of these, but some of them are pretty handy to use. But that would be up for everyone's personal preference. And then, of course, your miscellaneous, you can change all your settings back to default. There's also, if you're a pro user, something called a transmogrifier, which allows you to pull things from other game rooms into this game room. So if I wanted to pull monsters in from a different, like from my original, what I called my master room that had all of my monsters that I created, I could pull them all over from that room over to this Roll20 room as well. So those are all your basic controls. So let's say first thing you want to do is when you're creating the game, you want to have players, right? So come back over here to the journal, and what we're going to do is we're going to add a character. So it automatically creates a made-up weird name from the Roll20 name generator, which that's something they definitely could improve on, I believe. But don't get me wrong, I love Roll20. But you could obviously rename the character. Let's go with Bilbo Baggins. And then if you already have players in your room, you could put this in specific players' journals. Or if you want the characters to be available to everyone, you could put it in all players' journals. But this character, we're just going to name for that. You can drop, again, something from your art library for the avatar. You can drop something from your computer to the avatar, and, of course, to the token as well. And you have a lot of different commands here, but they're not as important when you're first starting off. You can put like bio and background information, character backstory. Then if you as the GM have special notes that you want for that character, you can put those right down here as well. So we're just going to save changes. So now we have the character of Bilbo Baggins. Now that that's open, again, it does look like, you'll notice, a normal Dungeons & Dragons sheet. But you have the option of what type of character sheet you want, right? So what we could do, if they want to be a player character, you can use the Charactermancer. The Charactermancer is really cool, but if you're a plus user, there is a free user, there is a lot of manual things that you will have to put in. If you're a plus user and have marketplace content, all of that marketplace content will be available in the Charactermancer if you have it shared to your room. It will always, everything you buy in the marketplace, if you create the room, all of that will be in your in all of your rooms all at the same time. All of your marketplace stuff will be in every game room you enter in. So if you go into a game and say the Dungeon Master does not have let's say Tasha's called of everything. If you have Tasha's in your library and purchase it from the marketplace, you'll still have access to it in your compendium. You'll also have access to it for your character mancer. When I'm play, which is only every once in a while, the GM will usually have me as a GM in the game room, the creator, to be able to help level up afterwards using the character mancer. But you can also edit the sheet directly and just build a character as normal. Like just edit directly and roll your character's strength, fill that in, all that information, pick your your saves for your class, do all that manually as well. But if we want, while we're looking at the character sheet, again, it's just like a normal 5th edition character sheet. You have your character's name, which you can change right here as well. You can choose their class, subclass, all of that. It's got a place for your personality traits, your ideals, everything of that nature. If you have long rests and short rests turned on, there are certain things that will replenish if you have them set up to do so. You can actually change the different settings from the pages up here, because these are basically the 3 character sheets that you have for a 5th edition sheet. So you have your core, which is your main page. You have your second page, which is like the bio, where you have like your age, size, all of that stuff. Treasure, all of the extra stuff here. And then of course you do have a spell sheet, which you can change basically what your spell casting ability is, and that will set up your spell save DC, spell attack bonus, etc. You can drag and drop your spells from the compendium actually into the character sheet. So say we wanted to go over here and wanted to take magic missile. It'll search magic missile. Of course, it does pop up for me from the new Dragons of Stormwreck Isle, because I purchased that, and it comes up from the player's handbook. Normally, it will just come up SRD, as the magic missile is the SRD, and you just take it and drag it over to the character sheet, and it puts it in there in the first level slots. You can change the slots, your slots total here. You can't really adjust unless you level up the character as a caster. But again, the 4th thing here is settings for the character sheet. So the settings for the character sheet, you can change some different things here. You can add, like, if you're not using the compendium, you can add halfling luck. You can put that it's arcane trickster, or you can put that's an eldritch knight as well. This is where you also dual class. If you want to change to a different class, you can change those here. You can use custom classes. So if you're a DM that wants to use a lot of homebrew, you can put the custom classes in here. And here's where, of course, you would change your spell slot modifiers if you wanted to change those for custom characters, custom classes, things like that. You can also put adjustments on your saving throws and your attributes, like your saves down here, your attributes. You can change your initiative style to like advantage or disadvantage. I always like to add Dex tiebreaker to initiative. That way it just automatically breaks ties for you. You can do your armor class tracking as automatic, or you can do custom. Like for barbarians, you can go on custom, and then it says, okay, your AC plus your dexterity and your con for a barbarian. So you can change those around that way. You can also change your skills. So like, say, for example, you want to be, as a rogue, you get to pick expertise in certain things. You can change, or a bard, if you have Jack of all trades, you can click on that. You can also click on if you have reliable talent as a rogue, things of that nature. And then, of course, you have your basic things here that you can go through, and they're fairly self-explanatory. What these global modifier fields are is that, say you have something like Bless, or you have something like Guidance. You can actually click on these to show them on the core sheet, and then you can click on and off if they apply, which is really cool. Those are the basics of a character sheet for a character. You also have the bio and info, which if you put anything in the edit screen up here, this bio and info such things and the GM notes would show over here in the bio and info up here. Once it loads back in, there we go. Your attributes and abilities are a little bit more advanced, so we're going to kind of skip over those, but you can actually basically kind of add token actions, things, macros, things along those lines to a character sheet specifically that will tie into their token, but those are a little bit more advanced, so we're not going to worry about those right now. And then, of course, one of the newest features that Roll20 just introduced. I have not had a chance to use it yet. They just recently introduced it, like maybe a month ago. You can actually print your character sheets off now. So you used to be able to print them, but they would all look all funky and everything because you're printing from the actual browser. But they did make it to where you can actually print your character sheets out like a D&D character sheet now, which is really, really great. If you want something else for the character sheet, a lot of people have a tendency to want to click on this, which if you click on that, it will pop the character sheet into its own window, which is great. The only problem is sometimes it's a little, it's working, they're working on it a lot as well. Sometimes macros won't read properly through if you pop the character sheet out of the browser into a different window. What you can do just simply is just go up by the character's name, double click it with your left mouse button, and it turns into a small little semi-transparent little file there that you can move around the screen wherever you need to. So, and this also works for any handouts that you open up in the game. I always like stack all the things that I might have open over here, and then when you click on it again, it opens up to where it was before. You just click it back, and it moves back over there. So anywhere you want to move those around the screen to stack. If you want to stack them over there, if you want to stack them over here above the names and such, you can do so. But that way it's really easy to open and close your different handouts, your maps, your characters, things of that nature while you're in Roll20 to save you from having to switch back and forth between screens. All right, so that's a player character. Say we're in the journal and we want to create a monster. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and add a character, and we're going to name this Goblin. Oops. And we're going to save it. And then what we're going to do is, if you notice, they'll pop up here. You can just open the character sheet for the first time. We want it to create an NPC. So we're going to create an NPC, and this is what pops up. Here are all the options for you to fill out. Again, very much like the player characters, is the bio and info that you can edit here. Obviously, you can put your tokens in there and such. It also has, as I mentioned, the ability attributes and abilities thing, just like a player character sheet. But the character sheet obviously is a little different. You fill all of this information in from basically the monster stat block. If it's a spellcaster, you click on that, it'll give you spellcasting options. If it has bonus actions, you can click on bonus actions. If it has reactions, click on reactions. If it has legendary actions, you just say how many, and it'll turn those on. Of course, it has mythic actions from some of the Magic the Gathering settings, world settings. They do have characters that have, yes, kid, that's awesome, isn't it, brother? And welcome in again. Good to see you. It does have the mythic actions if you want to add those from the Magic the Gathering campaign worlds. You can adjust whether you want to always roll advantage. You can adjust if you want to whisper the rolls. I know that a lot of DMs like to roll behind screens, and generally if I'm playing live, I do roll behind the screen as well. But when I'm playing on Roll20, I find, for me at least, this is just my preference. Again, anyone has any other preferences, that's totally cool. That's everyone has their own style and preferences for running D&D. But I in Roll20 don't whisper my rolls because it puts me on my toes. It makes me ad lib more. It makes me be a little bit more open to basically improvising what's happening in the battles and things of that nature, or if there's role playing and things along those lines with the characters, and they want to make a check to see if they're deceiving them or something. The only thing I generally will keep whispered is recharge rolls. I'll keep the recharge rolls whispered to me. So like if a dragon's breath weapon, I'll keep that to myself, and I'll also keep like perception checks. If someone's being stealthy, generally for stealth it's beating their passive perception, or if they're making a perception check to see if they notice something that the PCs are doing. Those I'll generally keep whispered. But once you fill all of that information out up above, it turns into basically a stat block for a monster. Now here's something really cool that you can do. If the monster is in the SRD, which I believe a goblin is, you can search goblin, and we'll find a goblin. It's actually just going to bring up all the goblins from all the stuff I have, but if it had SRD, which it is in there, you can just take the monster, the goblin, drag its name over to the character, to the NPC sheet, and it says accepting drop from compendium. You drop it in, and bam, your goblin's created. So if you want to make your own, you can do it in that manner. Which that's basically what I did, was I went through and created all of the monsters from the SRD into my Roll20 room when I first started playing, in order to populate my monsters. Again, go to your art library. We can go down and search goblin again. We've already got goblin in there. We can go to the free assets right here. There's some great goblins and kobolds. Now keep in mind, a lot of people like to use the point of view from above the token as you're looking at the map. The default for the Dungeons and Dragons things from Wizards of the Coast actually use tokens that represent the monsters on the board. So if you want, you can use your own tokens. You can also make your own tokens. If you go to, I believe it is Roll with Advantage. They have, if you search up token creator in Google, they're one of the first ones that come up. They're a great place to create tokens for your games. But there's also a lot of free tokens out there from content. There's also free assets in Roll20, so we can go over here. And we got goblins over here, so we're going to take this goblin, even though it's a top-down version. We're going to go back to edit, and we're going to drag this goblin over here. And that is the avatar for our goblin. We're going to go ahead and grab that goblin as well and bring it over here for its token. And we're going to save it. So anytime that from now on, if we want, what we do is we pull out our goblin out of our, it puts it back into our journal. We pull out goblin and have that out on the field. There is a few other things you can do to set up tokens. I'm not going to go ahead and deal too much into that this evening, but we will get around to that eventually. This is just basically being able to create basic player characters and NPCs in the game. So that's basically the PC and NPC introduction there. We'll go ahead and we've only got a few minutes left here on the stream. Does anyone watching have any questions before we continue on? I'm going to show you how to do quickly do some handouts, and you can also add PDFs into the game now. So if you have a PDF of an adventure or something of that nature, you can add those PDFs in. And we'll go through handouts and PDFs a little bit more next week. But does anyone have any questions that are viewing right now? Pop them in the chat. It doesn't have to be about Roll20. It can be about D&D in general, or advice or questions about my history with D&D, anything like that. Cool. So handouts, basically you just create a handout and then you name it what you want to name it. When you want the players to see it, if they're specific for certain players, you can change them right here. You can also let the players edit notes, handouts. So you could also, like I like to make party notes, so that someone in the party can keep notes in the game to remind themselves of what's happened during the adventures. And you can put all the descriptions down here. If you have art files that you want to add into your handouts, you put them here. If you want things in certain notes that you don't want the players to see, but you want them to see the rest, you can put all of those GM notes down here. You can also create templates of handouts that allow you to just click duplicate and it creates a copy of it. So we're just going to say mysterious note, and it says, "Dear adventurers, meet me at the Shifty Boar Tavern for a quest." And then you can have it labeled mysterious stranger. Cheesy, yeah. But at the same time, it does create that mysterious note in your handouts. And if you want the players to see it, you can edit it to only show it to certain players. Or you can click show players and it shows it to all players. So we'll show it to everyone. So everyone will be able to see that mysterious note. It will actually pop into their journal as well under the folder handouts. So you can create different handouts. You can create, you can go through and create your own adventures in the game as well, in your Roll20 room. You can also create like handouts for magic items, handouts for different towns where they can actually have or treasure maps, things like that that you can give to your players while you're playing. So that's basically the characters and the handouts in the journal. And then briefly over the PDFs, you can upload PDFs. You just go over here, you click on PDF. You find a PDF that you have on your desktop or on an external hard drive or whatever, and it does allow you to put the PDF directly into your Roll20 room. So like say for example, you go to dungeonmastersguild.com and you happen to search the adventure The Ringing in Your Ears by a certain author. You could take and purchase that on Roll20 or on DM's Guild, and you could put it into that PDF into your Roll20 to run that adventure for your players. There is some content I have some content up on DM's Guild that I have not put into Roll20. That's something I'm thinking about doing later on. If over here, things of that nature. Oh, it looks like kick back in. All right. But yeah, so that is the PDFs, that is handouts, that is characters for tonight. That is also discussing your different categories over here on the right, and then your different actions and commands you can take over here on your left. That's pretty much all we're going to talk about tonight. Again, thanks, viewers, very much for those of you that came in a little late. Yes, Kid, I believe there are. I can maybe do some research and ask me that again in the Discord channel for the streaming discussions, and I will get that information for you and try to put that in there for you as well. But yes, thanks everyone again for watching. It means a whole lot. For those of you that didn't hear, we've only been streaming for a week, and I got the email yesterday that we have already reached affiliate status, which does allow you to cheer bits. And again, thank you, Mr. Papa Squats, for that, those bits, and thank you for the Prime sub. You can now sub and cheer bits. We are going to be getting get a Master of Disguise for Golden Vault. What class would I recommend for a Changeling? Well, since it's a Vault, and it's heists, I would always definitely recommend a Rogue. Anything that can sneak about, a Bard's would be awesome. A Changeling Bard would be really, really cool for that. But yeah, if you're not a member of our Discord server yet, make sure to go in the About section below us. And click on our Discord panel. That will send you to our Master of Dungeons community server. People on there are great. We've got about 200 people on my private server for my client games. We're getting all of them migrated over to the community server, but everyone's welcome on the community server. Feel free to invite your friends, family, anyone that you know that plays Dungeons and Dragons to join the community and help spread the world's greatest role-playing game. Again, I'm also here to talk about or to help out with DM advice. Again, I've been DMing for 40 years. I am a player-oriented DM, but like I said, that's going to bring us to the end of this stream today. If you have any further questions, go ahead and drop into the Discord channel and drop them into the stream discussion. Next session for our Golden Vault is going to be Sunday evenings. We play Golden Vault from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern. We are playing part 2 of the first adventure this Sunday. For those of you also interested for our stream tomorrow evening, that's going to be at 6 p.m. Eastern. And starting next week, our Wednesday night show, which is called Tavern Talks, will be starting at 7 p.m. Eastern next week. But tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Eastern, we're going to be meeting another one of our collective, the wonderful Otter, who is our Twitch producer and YouTube producer, and one of our players on Sunday evenings. He's going to be joining us for an hour tomorrow night to talk about Dungeons and Dragons and his experience, how he got into playing and things of that nature. And then, of course, we do have our live video game streams on Thursday and Friday from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. We are playing Baldur's Gate Enhanced Edition on Thursdays, and then on Fridays we are playing Lord of the Rings Online on the Landroval server. So if anyone happens to play Lord of the Rings Online, you can jump on that server and play along with us as long as you're of the appropriate level. But if you're not, we can maybe even get characters. I have characters of a lot of different levels. We can always jump on together. But that is going to bring us to the end of the stream tonight. I want to thank everyone for tuning in this evening. And thanks everyone for their support. Thank you for following. Thank you for jumping on the Discord server. Again, we have a lot more things to come. We might change some overlays here and there. We might add some different streams at different times. But again, thanks everyone for tuning in tonight. We'll talk to everyone soon. All right? Be safe and happy adventuring.